Hi everyone, welcome back. Thanks for joining us today. We've got a brand new story to share with you. So let's begin. My name is Justin. I made the decision to expose my wife, Helen, for who she had become. I found out the truth she had been hiding from me for a long time. And what I did next was something nobody saw coming. The first time I saw Helen, her family had just moved into the house 2 doors down from ours. I was a teenager back then. Her mom and my mom hit it off almost immediately. It was the kind of neighborhood where people still made the effort to say hello. Our moms became close friends within weeks, and because of that, Helen started showing up around the house a lot more often. She usually came with her mom during afternoon visits, and sometimes, when my mom needed something from their place, she'd send me over. I noticed she was cute, but back then, it didn't go deeper than that. I wasn't thinking about relationships. Our families would become more connected. Looking back now, I think that slow, natural closeness between our families is what made everything else possible. When it was time for college, Helen and I went our separate ways. Different schools in different states. I rarely came home during breaks, so any connection we once had quietly faded into the background. We didn't keep in touch, and to be honest, I had no idea what was going on in her life. At that time in my life, she was just part of my childhood, nothing more. After I graduated, I was fortunate to land an entry-level position at a multinational petroleum company. The pay was good, the environment was structured, and for someone just coming out of school, it was the kind of opportunity that set the tone for the future. I felt like things were finally lining up. I had my own apartment, a stable routine, and for once, I wasn't worried about where the next step would take me. Naturally, I wanted to share the good news with my parents, so I made a trip home. But that trip ended up changing everything. It was during that visit that I saw Helen again, and she wasn't the same girl I remembered. She had grown into a stunning, confident woman. I was at some point struggling not to stare. She was composed, elegant, and somehow more familiar than ever. It was like seeing someone you've always known, but with new eyes. We caught up briefly with the usual, "How have you been?" type of conversations. But there was a spark. I knew it. I felt it. Before I left to return to my job, I asked for her number. She gave it to me with a smile, and from there, things just took off. At first, it was just phone calls. Sometimes late into the night. We'd talk about everything. We genuinely enjoyed each other's company, even from a distance. I didn't hide how I felt either. I told her plainly that I found her beautiful, not just in the physical sense, but in every way possible. We complemented each other. The long-distance part wasn't easy. We both had jobs, responsibilities, and different routines. But we made time. During holidays or long weekends, we'd plan to meet. Sometimes she'd come over. Sometimes I'd travel. Those visits made the distance bearable. So, when an opportunity came up at my company for a transfer, one that would place me closer to where she lived, I didn't hesitate. It felt like the right move. I was making a conscious decision to build something real with someone I believed in. Looking back now, that choice came from a place of hope and love, and the kind of faith you only have when you think you're building a future with someone who sees you just as clearly. From the very first time I walked through Helen's parents' front door as Helen's boyfriend, they received me with open arms. They were gracious, traditional, and deeply rooted in family values. There was a calm steadiness in their home. I never had to force my way into their lives. They simply made room for me. And Helen fit right into my world, too. My parents, especially my mom, adored her. Both our families blended easily, like 2 puzzle pieces meant to connect. After dating for 4 years, we decided to get married. We didn't want a loud, attention-grabbing wedding. Instead, we chose a quiet, destination wedding with just our close friends and family present. As she walked toward me that day, she looked stunning. It felt like the beginning of something, right? After the wedding, we moved in together and started shaping our new life. Our careers were different. She was in corporate law, as part of a consulting firm's legal team. She was good at what she did. She would bring home stories from work, and I could see how driven she was. Even though we worked in completely different worlds, we never let that become a wedge between us. If anything, it gave us more to talk about. We both knew what it meant to put in long hours, and neither of us ever made the other feel guilty for being tired. We also tried, intentionally, to make time for each other. But as the years passed, things began to change. After getting promoted to the head of her company's legal team, things felt different between us. At first, I thought it was just the pressure of her new role. She had more work, more people to manage, more deadlines. She'd come home tired, sometimes late, and when I asked how her day went, she'd just say, "It's work. I'm drained." She kept saying she was overwhelmed with responsibilities, but at the same time, she kept taking on more. More meetings, more tasks, more business trips. It didn't make sense to me. If work was too much, why wasn't she slowing down? Why did she keep going full speed? And the more I asked, the more she pulled back. She didn't want to talk. She didn't want to share. I still trusted her, though. I believed that she was going where she said she was going. I believed the trips were real, that the stress was real, that this was just a rough patch. But the moment that really shook me was during our anniversary. She came home late that day, too. I told her I missed how things used to be because I felt like we were drifting. Instead of hearing me out, she got defensive right away, asking, "You don't trust me anymore?" Then she threw the question back at me. "What do you do when I'm not around?" I didn't know what to say to that. I wasn't accusing her of anything. But she's twisting things. Made it seem like I was the one causing a problem just for asking. That's when I knew something wasn't right. When someone who loves you can't give you simple answers without turning it into a fight, that's not normal. That's hiding. I didn't say much after that. But from that night on, I started paying attention to her behavior. Because even if I couldn't prove anything yet, I could feel it. I started noticing things I didn't want to believe. You know how sometimes your gut tries to warn you, but your heart keeps making excuses for the person you love? That's exactly where I was. Helen had become unusually protective of her phone. She used to leave it lying around without a care, but now it was always either in her hand, face down, or locked away. She'd step out to take certain calls. And when I asked simple questions like where she was going or who she was meeting, her answers were vague. Just a quick meetup, or work stuff, nothing serious. Still, I kept giving her the benefit of the doubt. But that didn't stop the growing pit in my stomach. So I did something I never imagined I'd have to do in a marriage. I hired a private investigator. I did it either to silence the doubts or to confirm what my heart was starting to fear. It didn't take long. Just a few weeks later, the investigator called me and confirmed Helen was cheating with a high-level executive in the company where she works, someone she traveled with often. There were photos and videos. And just like that, my world broke apart quietly inside my chest. I didn't lash out or call her to confront her immediately. I just sat with it. I don't know how I managed to keep a straight face around her, especially when she came home like everything was fine. But I did. I bottled every ounce of pain, every question, every urge to scream. I needed space to figure out my next move. 3 days later, Helen told me she had another seminar out of town, leaving Friday and returning Sunday evening. This time, I didn't ask any questions. I just nodded. The very next morning, I didn't even wait for Friday to come. I contacted a divorce lawyer I found online. I filled out everything digitally, attached the evidence, and asked him one thing. Can it be ready by Monday? I wasn't interested in watching her lie to my face again. I just wanted to walk away with the last bit of peace I had left. On the morning of her travel, she leaned in, kissed me on the cheek, and said she'd be back by Sunday evening. I nodded, told her to take care, and watched her walk out. She had no clue that this was going to be her last time walking out of this marriage. I'd already made up my mind. The divorce papers were in motion. After she left, I started packing up her things. I took my time, folded her clothes, boxed up her shoes. While packing her things, I came across her smartwatch buried under a pile of scarves in the drawer. I picked it up without thinking, pressed the screen, and to my surprise, it was still synced to her phone. I don't know what made me tap into the messages, but when I did, everything became crystal clear. There it was, right in front of me. Texts between her and the same man the investigator had mentioned. Messages about meeting up and booking a suite together. She even told him she'd miss him once she got back home. The messages were a lot. It was one thing to hear it from a third party. It was another thing to see her type it out herself with no guilt, no hesitation. That watch became my second confirmation, undeniable proof that I wasn't overthinking. She wasn't just cheating. She was comfortable doing it. That evening, I loaded her boxes into the back of my car and drove to her parents' house. It was quiet when I arrived. They looked surprised to see me, especially with their daughter's belongings stacked in the back. Her mom asked gently, "Justin, is everything all right?" I didn't answer right away. I just started unloading, bag by bag, box by box. Her dad joined me halfway through and kept glancing at me like he was trying to read something from my face. When I was done, I asked them to come inside. I told them I had something to show them, and I meant it exactly that way. I synced Helen's smartwatch to their living room TV. Once it connected, I went to the messages part. We went through the entire thread. They read as the story unfolded. The flirty texts, the hotel details, the plans. I watched her mother's hand go to her mouth. Her father just stared in disbelief, silent. I let them sit with that for a moment, then brought out my phone and showed them the photos the investigator had taken. They didn't say much. They didn't need to. The looks on their faces said everything. I knew this wasn't just hard on me. It was breaking them too. Their daughter had lied to them just as much as she lied to me. I didn't stay long enough to let them ask too many questions. I simply said, "I thought you both deserved to see this." Then I turned around and left. By the next morning, my phone started lighting up with calls and texts, all from Helen. I didn't need to guess why. Her parents must have spoken to her, and she was trying to reach me. At first, it was just missed calls. Then came the messages, "What's going on? Why are my things at my parents'? Can we talk?" But I wasn't ready. I had nothing left to say that would make sense to someone who thought lying was normal. So I ignored every call, every message. That Sunday, I woke up early and began packing what mattered to me: documents, clothes, devices, and a few personal things. I didn't bother with anything that reminded me of the marriage. We were renting the house, so it made things easier. I didn't need to worry about legal complications or mortgage drama. I just needed to get out. I booked an Airbnb for the next month in another part of town and moved everything I needed there. By the time she returned on Sunday evening, the house was empty of anything connected to me. I didn't see her that day, but her calls became more desperate and her messages more frequent. "Please talk to me. You just left. Is this really happening?" The irony is she acted shocked. Like none of this was her doing. She knew what this was about. I didn't need to spell it out. The silence was my response. Every unanswered call was a reminder that actions have consequences. On Monday morning, I had the divorce papers sent straight to her parents' house. I made sure they were the ones to receive it because I wanted the delivery to be quiet, formal, and direct. She knew what she did, but she just didn't think I'd ever have the strength to walk away. She didn't take it well. My phone buzzed constantly, messages, missed calls, voice notes. Some were angry, some were full of guilt, and others played the same victim tone she'd used before. "Is this really how you want to end our marriage?" she wrote. I didn't say much. I only replied once, "You ended this a long time ago. I'm just finishing what you started." That was all she was going to get from me. Of course, once she realized I wasn't playing around, she went into defense mode. She hired some of the best lawyers in town, and suddenly I was being painted as an absent, emotionally unavailable husband. She tried to flip the story, said I was too focused on work, that I was distant, that I didn't make her feel seen. But her story kept falling apart, especially with the evidence I had gathered. It became clear that this wasn't a case of a lonely wife seeking affection. It was a case of calculated betrayal. Still, the process was brutal. Lawyers don't care about the truth, they care about winning. There were days I felt drained just sitting through all the back and forth. It took months of legal meetings, statements, revisions, and unnecessary arguments. I just wanted it to be over. Eventually, we finalized everything. No alimony. But just when she thought it was done, I filed one last thing. I sent every piece of evidence, every message, every time-stamped image to her company's ethics and compliance report line. I knew for a fact that their policies were strict about relationships between colleagues, especially executives. She brought this mess into her workplace. They deserved to know. I never followed up. I didn't wait for an update. After all the noise, I had to learn how to live without the person I once thought I'd grow old with. Looking back now, I still don't fully understand how we got here. I married Helen because I believed in us. I believed in what we had, and I trusted her with everything in me. But love can't survive on memories. It can't stand on loyalty from just one side. When someone chooses to betray you over and over again, the divorce wasn't easy. Honestly, it tore through my routine, my peace, and my plans. I had to let go of the idea of the future I thought we were building. Her choices ended our marriage, but my choice gave me back my life. I didn't win anything in the end, but I also didn't lose myself. And that, to me, is enough.